Welcome back to the CA Short Company All In Employee Podcast, where we're all in and give generously. We're so glad you're here. I'm Cheri Lucas, your host, and today my co-host is Ashlee Green. You might remember her from our previous podcast where we welcomed her into CA Short as our new Director of Sales. She is generously offering to podcast co-host with me not once but twice in an area that is way out of her comfort zone, but it's because she's all in and she's giving generously. So I'm really excited. Ashlee, thank you so much for being with me today on this
Thank you. Thank
podcast.
you. Yes, thank you, Cheri. I appreciate that intro. That's great. Yes, I'm excited. Excited for being a co-host with you.
I applaud your courage.
Yes.
And we also have on the call with us today, Yasmine Mustafa. And oh my gosh, I want to intro her, but yet I feel like I would be doing her a disservice because I think just who she is, um, she it just speaks for itself, and I don't want to take away from her impact. Who she is impactful to this world, and her story is very impactful. So I'm really excited and really honored to introduce you to Yasmine Mustafa. And Yasmine, say hello to everyone.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, Yasmine, we're going to hop right in here pretty quickly. And I just want to let everybody know we are going to be talking about a topic that it has to do with employee engagement and valuing your employees and being all in for your employees so they can be all in for you. But Yasmine has we here at CA Short do have safety programs, but Yasmine takes that to a whole new level and has created a company that hones in on a specific area with workplace safety, safe from harassment and safe from assault. And she has a solution for that. And I'm really excited to have her to talk to us about that today. And we're just going to chat and get more information and see what's going on with that. And weaved in here, we'll be, sharing with you some statistics and things that are going on out there in this world. This is something that is coming to light, and we're so happy it is because everyone at large, but especially women or those demographics that are more vulnerable, really appreciate that this is coming to light. And so I'm just so proud and pleased to have this conversation today and just to get Yasmine's message out there and to support her in what she's doing. So Yasmine, what would you like to tell us about you first, and then we'll go into what you're doing?
Sure. Yeah. Well, first, thank you for that background. I hope that my goal is to just educate people about workplace safety, the statistics out there, and hopefully give someone ideas of things that they can embed within their organizations. But a little bit about me, I'm the CEO of a company called ROAR, ROAR. We help protect vulnerable workers. As you said, our vision is to actually protect 25 million vulnerable workers by 2030. We're currently at over 1.06 million, which is really exciting and growing every day. We use panic button technology to help address the physical and psychological safety of the employees. And the entire goal of our organization is to expedite response time to get someone the help that they need, because we feel that no one should be afraid while trying to earn a wage.
I love that. And so what is the solution that you've provided for that?
Yeah, we provide wireless panic button technology, wearable and under the counter, that anyone can press if they're injured, if they're being verbally attacked, or even as a preventative measure, they see something suspicious, kind of see something, do something. I think that's what they say at the airports, to be able to prevent things from getting to the red zone. And basically, what it does is it provides the exact floor, room location, even parking lot if they go outside, to nearby staff members or emergency services if they're alone. So the whole idea is no matter where you are in the workplace or nearby, no matter what's going on, if you need help, it's just one push button away.
Wow. Okay, two questions I have in that. There's two things you said I'd like clarification on. What is the red zone? That'll be number one. And then number two, who does you push the button and what happens? Where does it go? Who's monitoring this? And then and then what's the process once somebody gets your panic button signal?
Sure. Yeah. So the red zone is the danger zone. So 90% of workplace injuries can actually, or workplace, I should say workers' comp claims can be prevented if someone, of course, calls them out early enough. Slips and falls are the most common, but unfortunately, in the world that we live in today, there's just record breaking levels of mental illness, addiction, and incivility. And the whole idea is to leverage our technology at the 90% green, yellow, orange mark before things escalate to the danger zone. And what happens when people push our technology really depends on the facility and their procedures. If it's a really large facility, they probably have a security team already. So typically, what they'll do is they'll have security respond. Sometimes nearby supervisors or managers or staff will respond if the facility's small enough and they don't have security. Or if there's lone workers, overnight workers, there's no one else that can come to the location, like a front desk at a hotel, they can have 911 dispatched to that specific location. And what's cool is when 911 arrives, it's not like they just go to the lobby. They can actually they can actually, we can let them know that someone's in the, room 219 in a hotel or a healthcare facility too. So again, that response time is expedited. And the alerts either, people download our app, they either get them on their phones, and we'll actually push through the notification, even if someone is in do not disturb mode, to make sure that someone gets the alert, of course, because you want to make sure that the responder's on their way. And then there's also a tablet that we usually have either at the front desk security office that will also sound an alarm to try to make sure to get to get the attention of as many people as possible nearby. So it's all about
Wow.
getting help to those who need it.
I love that. And I love that it covers, even, somebody just fell, simple things that just happen, or maybe somebody's having a panic attack or, whatever it is, or somebody's blood sugar's low, right? They're diabetic and they need help. But
Yeah.
then all the way to the extreme of, someone's attacking you or harassing you or in some way. I love that. And I just to me, I just think what a gift you're giving to employees. How did this What inspired you to create this?
This is the part that she wanted to ask, because I know you and I connected over this last time we spoke. I will say the one thing that I'll add is one thing that surprised me is, we built our technology to help protect staff members, but what I've been surprised by is how it elevates the culture of safety within that entire organization. It's not just helping staff, it's helping guests, it's helping patients, helping customers. We heard of an incident, I want to say it was Monday, where there was a patient in the ER. A family member came, and a family member started beating the patient on the bed. And a nurse was able to push the button to get security there instead of being the one that is in the middle of it. We also heard of an incident where a housekeeper saw someone doing drugs in the stairwell. Instead of her putting herself in a position where she's vulnerable, she can get security there, to who's already trained to deal with things like that, to, of course, nip whatever is going on there in the bud before things escalate. But yeah, my story, I like to say Roar found me, not the other way around.
I love that
um,
about you. I love that.
in short, I've faced a lot of unsafe situations. I'm a refugee. I came to the US when I was 8 years old, and it was really a crazy story. I was at a bomb shelter when two ambassadors from the embassy came in looking for my baby brother who had just been born in the States. They told us we had an hour to pack two bags, put us on a plane, brought us to Philadelphia where he was born. Brand new culture, brand new language, brand new everything. It was to me as a kid, I was like, wow, this is amazing. But really quickly, really, a whole new change is definitely nerve wracking in a lot of cases. It was further heightened 7 years later. I was 15 applying for college when I learned I was undocumented. So I didn't have a social security number. And unfortunately for me, the clock had reset. So the previous 7 years didn't count. And I had to start the process from the very beginning, which meant I couldn't apply for a driver's permit, get my license, even go to college at that time, because you couldn't even, if you didn't have a social security number, you were really limited in terms of your options. And then after I graduated high school, I was trying to figure out what could I do not having this nine, digit number that really opens up so many opportunities. And then the decision was made for me. Just one day, my dad was like, I'm tired of waiting for immigration. I'm out. And he packed 2 bags, stopped by the bank on the way to the airport. He took all the family savings and left. And it was bittersweet because he's actually not a nice person. He was very abusive. So it was great that he was gone. But what was unfortunate for us is, well, what could we do not having any finances or means to get finances? And so we all worked under the table, mostly in hospitality. I was a waitress, and I also worked dishwasher, back of house. I made $5 an hour for 7 years because I was
Wow.
paid under the table. Because as you can imagine, if you don't have rights, if you don't have legal status, there'll be people out there, unfortunately, that will take full advantage of it. And during that time, I experienced a lot of sexual harassment where I had bosses that felt emboldened by my status that would say and do things that no one should have to deal with. And long story short, I finally did become a US citizen at 30, so 10 years ago. Actually, no, 11, because I'm 41. I forgot. I'm 41 now. And then that day was really pivotal for me because I felt finally unshackled by my circumstances. I could do what I wanted, not what I had to do. And so the first thing I did is I registered to vote. The second thing I did is I applied for my passport. And the third thing I did is as soon as I got that passport, I went on a 6-month trip through South America by myself. It was
Oh,
amazing. And then when
Wow.
I came back, I started ROAR after a neighbor of mine was attacked a block from our apartment.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
that is
Someone
a
who
lot
has,
to unpack.
yeah. Wow. I'm
Yeah.
just, what a courageous person. I mean, and you had been already harassed and abused in so many ways, yet you still had the courage to go by yourself to foreign countries to travel. I mean, what inspired that, and what made you believe, gave you the confidence to do that?
It's interesting. I didn't even think of it as courageous. I thought of it as finally doing what I wanted versus what I had to do. And I felt
Mm,
like I finally was in the position to. It's funny because, in America, the land of the free, I wasn't free though. I had felt imprisoned by my circumstances and especially not having legal status. I couldn't travel anywhere.
yes.
I really didn't have that option. So as soon as I did, I wanted to make up for all the things that I couldn't do. And so to
Okay.
me, it was just a given that I would take full advantage of that situation. And honestly, I dreamed of it for so long. So
Oh,
I did wear
okay.
a fake wedding ring. Because of
Okay.
course, I know what
That's a
happens
great
out
idea.
there in the
Yeah.
world. And anytime I'd meet someone, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, my husband, he's coming. He's late. Oh, he's always late. He'll be here."
So not only is she courageous and humble, but she's very smart, very intelligent,
Oh,
very quick,
exactly.
quick mind, right? I love that. Very so amazing, Yasmin. So um you said that it was your neighbor that an attack on her that really spurred you on to create Roar, or was there something already in the works that just finally made you finally do it, or did just was that the seed that was planted and just grew very quickly?
I think my neighbor being attacked was the catalyst, but I think underlying it was my life's experiences of being unsafe and walking on eggshells. I think that contributed to the full vision of bringing it about.
So Roar for Good, was it created for the workplace or was it for the population at large? And are you selling it only to workplaces or to individuals?
Good question. We did start as a BDC company selling it to individuals. So we were one of the first to come out with fashionable safety wearables for women by women. So this was back when wearables were all the rage: Fitbit, Jawbone, Misfit. And at the time when I had the idea, I thought, well, why can't we have something that's safety related, and especially better than existing self-defense tools like pepper spray and tasers, which the entire self-defense industry was actually created by men initially to protect themselves against animals, and then other men. And when the market for women came about, the whole shrink it, a pink it phenomenon happened. They made it, the people in charge were like, well, let's make it pink and let's make it smaller, and we're good. We can start selling it to women, not really taking into account what they wanted or what they needed. And during our time, especially at the beginning, what we learned is a lot of the women's concerns were not being addressed. Women didn't want to be close to the assailant when something were to happen, to use the pepper spray or the taser as an example. A lot of them were afraid of existing tools because essentially they were weapons and they were afraid they'll be overpowered and their own specific self-defense tool used against them. And so um, so we designed the first one of the first safety wearables. It's actually, it functions very similar to now what the iPhone and Android devices do when you push the side buttons, where it can automatically notify your loved ones of your locations. So that's basically what we did. It also had an alarm component, so you could sound a loud alarm or a silent alarm. It was mostly for women in urban cities that maybe got out of work late and were walking to the parking lot but didn't feel safe, or running, or on college campuses. And as great as it sounds, the solution really didn't work, and it didn't really work for two main reasons. One is, what we learned is that 51% of people who bought our device actually bought it as a present for someone they loved. And men actually bought twice as many as women. So really, really interesting. And then 49% of people who received it as a gift never opened it.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's when we were like, oh my goodness, just humans by, I think, nature, we don't think about prevention until something happens. And so
Yes.
we really weren't having the engagement and impact we really wanted to have, especially because unfortunately we manufactured our own device and the costs were way too high to really make it readily accessible for everyone. And so we were like, all right, we're not having the impact we really want to have or the engagement. And so what can we do differently? And that's when in 2018, we evaluated our options. And then in 2019, pivoted to protecting people in the workplace or nearby.
Okay. So, and did the functionality of it also change? Because it sounded like you were talking about it. What it did at first was like just a where you are, a sound to maybe to, kind of like a car alarm. And
Yeah.
is that when it switched to like a remote signal to somewhere else to let someone else know where your location was and all those things? Is that how that evolved?
Yeah, basically initially it was outdoor location tracking. So kind of similar when you share your location on your phone to someone. That's
Hmm.
basically when you push the button, you
Okay.
shared your location and people could see where you are. They could check in on you. You could they could message you and be like, hey, check in. Like, I don't know what's going on with you. Now it's all about indoor location tracking. So
Okay.
what's really cool about our technology right now is we designed it to really take into account all the challenges that might exist in protecting someone inside of a building. And I don't know if you know, it's actually very difficult. 89% of buildings have dead spots. So there are areas within the building where Wi-Fi doesn't work or cell phone service is not very reliable. There could be a lot of signal interference, especially based on the number of Bluetooth devices they already have, or smart sensors, or like medical equipment in ER rooms. There's construction barriers if it's concrete or wood, and so when we looked at all of that, and especially looked at the competition and what they were doing, we thought there's got to be a better way. And so we designed a completely wireless, completely standalone, battery powered network that no matter, it essentially creates a safety zone. And no matter where you are, as long as you have our buttons, you can immediately notify someone. And it takes into account all those barriers to make sure an alert is sent no matter what when someone needs it.
I love this so much. There's so much that I want to say and ask. But Ashley, I know I've really monopolized this. Which is there anything that's, do you have a
Okay.
burning question that you want to
Yeah.
ask?
I mean, it's just it's the whole concept is just so, like, I think needed. I mean, especially in the world that we live in today, right? You just growing up myself, and as you were talking about your experiences and really how this all came to be, it's interesting because I kind of like reflect back, and I know that, like, when I was in college, there was a couple of times with, I probably was out too a little too late, or, trying to get back to the dorm from a local establishment I was at. And I was actually chased. But I carry the mace with me, but at the end of the day, I never wanted to use it because I was always afraid of what is it really going to do? Like you said, proximity to a possible attacker. You don't want to be close enough, but you want to make sure you can, like, really get the help that you need, whether it's another person around, or what have you. And I remember just I that one night, I, instead of walking on the streets where there's lights and walking back to my dorm, I took the back alley. And it luckily at that time I was a little bit better in shape and I could run and I mean ultimately I had to run up a hill to get to my dorm and it was crazy because I remember seeing this person. It's like it was a shadow and I thought, oh well, is this really where I'm at? Where is it really a person or am I dreaming? You just never know in those situations because your mind goes in all different directions. And I started panicking. And I had the mace with me, but like I said, I've never used it. And am I really going to ever do that? So I just started running and I ran I mean, it was probably at least a mile up uphill and just to get into the dorm where there were security guards there. But at the end of the day, I'm like, this is it's scary. It's a scary world. And so, as I thought, even though nothing ever happened, it was one of those things that I always have been very cautious about my surroundings, where I'm at, who's around, looking for details and always watching in that situation. And, so at fast forward, I have now a daughter that's 21. But as she was growing up, I always tried to teach her. And I think she thought, oh, mom, you're just paranoid. But I said, you always have to be aware of your surroundings and you have to, try to prevent situations that you're in. You have to be very mindful of that. And it's crazy because now she understands it enough to where, every day I really just, I pray for her. I always, hopefully she's making the right decisions, but, knowing that, a solution is really there for anybody and everybody, whether it is, whatever age you're at, as well as, is it workplace? I mean, that is huge. There's so many situations we never hear about, because people don't want to talk about it, right? But they also don't want to they don't want to really, say, hey, I was a victim here. And, ultimately it gives a voice, it gives a place for someone to feel secure. And that's amazing. I mean, until I was listening to you and hearing about all this, I did not even know there was something, out there in the market today that allows,
Yeah.
a better user experience, than just, like you said, mace, or, there were times where I'm like, I'm not going to carry mace, but I'll carry a can of hairspray or bug spray, in like the little travel sizes to use if I need to. But I'm always on the alert, I should say. But that my experience, has definitely not not been in any place that you have been. But it's just interesting to see and hear about, just
Yeah.
the ability of how Aurora can really help each and every one of us in so many different ways.
Ashley, you touched on this more than once. You just said to hear about, and but then earlier
Yeah,
you said to get to be able to talk about and speak about, and that's just it. Like that, I said that in the beginning. I'm so thrilled that we
right.
get to have this conversation, that we get to talk about this topic and bring it to light so people are aware. I, like Ashley, I am a survivor of rape, and then a couple years later, a molestation, and then multiple throughout my lifetimes of harassment, and but nobody talked about it, so including my family, so I didn't know how to handle it, the harassment and all the things, and it was really detrimental. And so I got to have this journey of working through all that, right, and to do the healing and to get an understanding and a perspective of what had happened, and to know what to do going forward. And gosh, I love that this is, I don't want to say an easy or a simple, there's nothing easy or simple about these situations, but to give you s- a hope, and to know that you're not alone, even when you're alone, right? That there's someone
Yeah.
that's aware of these scenarios and they're watching for you, right? And so I
Well,
love this conversation.
at first, I want to say thank you both for sharing your experiences. It is crazy how often I hear people share, especially things that have happened to them once a conversation gets started. To your point, Cheri, and second of all, I just want to be clear. I wish this didn't need to exist. I wish the
Right.
original
Right.
solution we created didn't need to exist, and even the solution that we have now. Unfortunately, we live in the world that we do. One thing that was interesting at the very beginning of the company is how often I would hear, And unfortunately, I think as a society, we tend to blame the victim. Well, why were you out so late? Why did you take the alley? Why did you wear that? We tend to focus too often on the
Yes.
wrong things instead of the root causes. And unfortunately, to your point, Ashley, we are living in a freaking crazy world right
Yeah.
now, and there needs to be things in place to help. In the meantime, I do wish that there didn't there didn't need to be. At the very beginning, when we were designing our solution, I did spend some time talking to researchers, psychologists, sexual assault counselors, domestic violence counselors. One of the things I learned is at the core of all these attacks, harassment, is a lack of empathy. And unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with power. And one of the ways to help mitigate and actually tilt the the stats is to teach young kids, especially boys, about consent and healthy relationships. And back then, at the beginning, we did partner with nonprofits like the One Love Foundation, like Hollaback, that they go into schools and they do this training. And I wish it was something that was standard across the board. And but I think one thing we need to do as a society is stop looking at why women inviting these things to ourselves. And I think even now at the workplace, unfortunately, one of the things that I've been seeing is that a lot of the industries that we're in, hospitality, healthcare, retail, they're a majority female workforce with a majority male decision making team. And they're underprotected, underserved, underpaid. That is common across the board. It actually has a name: occupational segregation by gender. And it
Wow.
is intentionally that way. And it shouldn't be. And especially right now in healthcare, it's workplace violence is an epidemic. Way too many nurses are being punched, spat at, kicked. And I understand that people are coming in with altered minds, but I bet you if nursing was a majority male workforce, we won't be talking about this and it won't be an epidemic because there'll be solutions in place to help protect them.
Yes, I agree. And if you'll indulge me, so I want to bolster what we're talking about here with some statistics. Okay, these are just Bing's, like you can Google stuff or you can Bing. So this is from Bing. 7 in 10 workers have experienced a form of harassment and violence at work. Nearly 1 in 2 workers have experienced sexual harassment and violence in the last 2 years. Over the past month, 13% of men and 12% of women had to put up with verbal abuse at work. People have experienced bullying and harassment. Okay, so I want to go on and um, read through this list of what the types of harassments are because I know we're talking a lot about women, and we do all happen to be women right here, and I don't want to minimize other demographics, and to know that
Yeah.
because men experience this as well. And well, this list will help you. Okay, there's discriminatory harassment, racial harassment, gender harassment, religious harassment, ability based harassment, okay, physical mental disabilities, right? Sexual orientation based harassment, age based harassment, personal harassment, let's see, physical harassment. And there's definitions, but you can all look these up. And this is a study. This is from an article from Case IQ. Case CASE IQ. Let's see, power harassment. So that's characterized by a power of disparity between the harasser and the victim. Psychological harassment. There's online and digital harassment. There's cyberbullying laws, you guys, laws, retaliation harassment. Okay. If you blow the whistle on something you see wrong and somebody's going to retaliate, right? Sexual harassment, which we've been talking a lot about. And there's quid pro quo harassment. That's tit for tat, tit for tat. Well, they did this, I'm going to do this. Third party harassment, verbal harassment. Um, it goes on and on. So there's many demographics that are suffering from this. Women, we are in the forefront with this, and I'm glad we are, but I hope that we can help bring all the others to the forefront as well. So, not so we're not trying to hog the spotlight and make it all about women, but we're women are kind of in the forefront right now of getting in more empowerment, and we're visible and people are aware of us. And so let's use this platform to bring awareness then to the other demographics who are also battling the same things that we are, right? And it's not to put down those that aren't in the minority demographics. It's but it's just to bring awareness to those who have been
Mhm, mhm.
and what's been happening, so that there can be better understanding from all sides on how to empower everyone and work together and empower everyone to be empowered, right? um, there's more articles, on workplace violence. And so I'm just so happy, and just even hazards. We're just so happy here at CA Short to have this conversation, because we are about being all in for your employees to create a culture, an environment where everyone feels valued, and people are glad to be here, like where people feel like they're wanted, they're valued, they have something to offer. And wow, I mean, if this doesn't speak that, what does? Right. And so to
Yeah.
have all in employees, which is what we're trying to help happen for all the companies that we can, we get to be all in employers, right? And so, Yasmin, you're just this beautiful example of that. And I wonder if there's anyone on your team that you would like to give some kudos to right now, because I know it's not, you don't stand alone. You have a whole team of people that support you with your company.
How long is this podcast? I mean,
I know, and I put you on the spot, and so let me just say for
no,
her,
no, no. I mean, what I'll
being on
say
the
is we're a
spot,
team.
she might not remember everything everybody needs, she needs to mention, right?
We're a team of 21. We're now spread out across 4 continents, and I would say, I mean, every single person. We just did an employee survey. I think we got like a 98% score in terms of, how people, how much the purpose of the company motivates them in their day to day. And I think that's incredible to run a purpose-driven company. I think we're able to recruit, really the best of the best, especially those people that want to be able to give back. And I think everyone goes above and beyond as a result. We have had, yeah, I mean, it's hard. I don't want to call out one person because then I'm sure I'll forget one, or everyone, but I'll say every single person, if they don't do what they do, we just broke over a million protected. It wouldn't have happened, without them.
It's
And four
amazing.
continents, or you're just working from four continents, or is that the
Yeah,
four continents that include who you're protecting?
4 continents that we're working from.
That's
Right
huge.
now
You
we're in the
guys, not
US, but
countries,
can't wait.
continents.
Yeah.
Continents.
Sorry,
Wow.
sorry. Countries. No, 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 no.
Oh,
It is countries.
countries?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was
No,
like,
no, no.
wow,
It's
that's
countries.
over half the world.
No,
That's
no, no,
amazing.
no, no. No, no,
Wow.
no, no, no. I misspoke. Countries,
Oh
countries,
my
countries.
goodness, but still 4 countries. That's huge.
Yeah.
Can you tell us those countries?
Yeah, we have one person in Mexico, 3 people in Canada, the US, and then one person actually right outside of London in the UK.
You passed the pop quiz. You're good. See, I told you she thinks quickly.
We just
She's very
celebrated
keen
nine
mind.
years, so it was really cool. We had a trivia. So from the very beginning of where we got our start to where we are now, we had a quiz where people could participate, and we that was one of the questions: is how many countries is our team from? How many people have kids under 2? How many people have pets? Just. But also going back to what was the name of the device that we had created. It was fun because we also got to educate and show the trajectory and progress that we had made along the way. So that's why I knew that one, and that's why I just brought it up because we were just talking about it.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be
Great.
connected to this company, to this cause, and to you, Yasmin.
Thank you.
I just
Thank you.
appreciate you, and I just have such a deep love for you, and gratitude for who you are, and
Thank you so
grateful
much.
that we have crossed paths. And thank you.
Can
I
I
just
ask
thank
you a
you.
question? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Because
Yes.
what you all do in terms of helping kind of elevate, incentivize, help employers recognize their teams. One of the things I've started doing when I start talking to companies, and now like whenever a lead comes in, I'll take like one a week just to make sure like I'm staying and seeing what's going on. What's been interesting is I think what I need to start speaking to is how many operational disruptions are actually as a result of a lack of safety. Because
Wow.
if you think about the impact of not feeling safe, not having the second level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs met, well, if you're constantly in fear, you're less productive. If you're constantly in fear, you
Yes.
probably burn out faster. You're
Yes.
less likely to stay. So for the
Yes.
organization, when someone is injured, when someone is assaulted or harassed, there are real implications. And
Yes.
I've been trying to think of what's the best way to convey that to an employer. Because unfortunately, too often safety is seen as a debit, not a credit. And so as I've been talking to folks, especially now in the last month, taking one inquiry in a week, I've been trying to think about what would be best, especially for those that they want to take care of their stuff. But is it really the biggest priority right now with everything else they have going on? And in my eyes, it should be. We should all prioritize our staff's well-being. But of course, there's always things that come up, other priorities. So I'd love to hear from both of you. Like, what would you do, or what would you recommend?
Ashlee, do you want to take this or you want me to take this?
I mean, you want to start? That's fine. It doesn't
Well,
matter. Yeah.
Yasmin, I
Go ahead.
think you were right on track. I really think, we know that we can appeal to people through emotion, but I think that when people are in business and a business is calling on you, they're thinking of the bottom line. And so you were right on track talking about statistics. And so just gathering the statistics around the specific safety incidents that you are speaking to would help. There are statistics all over the place about that have tracked productivity and its effect on the bottom line concerning how people feel and if they feel safe, if they, if they feeling happy and engaged, if they, you can all of that. There are statistics, and I think that statistics are very powerful numbers because you have a lot of numbers people when you're talking to the executive level. I'm assuming you're talking to the executive level. Would that be
Yeah,
correct?
I
So, I mean,
am.
you're on the
Although
right
I
track
think
there.
statistics, I think they don't humanize the problem enough. I absolutely
Not
speak to it.
not a list on a page, but when you speak to it and you
Yeah,
tie it to a human, right? Because you have the
yeah.
stories. I think it's you naturally have all the stories, not only your own that you shared today and your neighbor and but the people that you've worked with and the stories that you hear. So you just pull from those and attach those to
Mhm.
and you have to have your own statistics in your own company or with the companies that you're working with to see what difference it's making for them, correct? That's the most powerful part right there is if you have the statistics for the companies that you are providing your services to and you can show someone else, look, this is what's happened to their engagement or their productivity and therefore their bottom line. You're including the statistics for those the statisticians and the you're personifying it, you're humanizing it and making it very personal too.
Mhm, mhm.
Ashlee, what would you
Yeah, I
say?
mean, well, from my experience as well, I mean, I have seen really just healthcare and awareness and really become more alive in the corporate world. It's not just about business anymore, right? It's always about taking care of the employees that you work with. And so culture is huge. It's just as important as hiring for the skill set or the knowledge that you have coming into your workforce, but it's protecting that workforce, making them feel extremely valued, comfortable, and really just making sure that there are different sources of support in that space too, because all of us go through so many different things in our lives, right? Whether it's a situation that might have happened, or it could just be that you live in an environment that isn't really healthy. And so having that ability to as an employer, I would say is to make sure you have the right balance with within the I consider it kind of a cultural support in a way, right? Because as we all know, most of the time, most of our working hours are we're spent with our coworkers versus our families. And I mean, that's just unfortunate. And how we work in our society today, spending at least 40 hours, sometimes a lot more, focused in with those around us in our business environment. But we have to protect those employees from all sorts of harassment, all sorts of nuances that come up. And it's just one of those things that I think the successful businesses that are out there today are putting just as much effort towards what are those resources, what is the support, how do I mean, it could even be we have employee assistance lines, right, where someone can reach out and constantly get that connection and help and support as needed. But I just overall in general, I think that the balance has to be there, right? Like maybe 20 years ago it wasn't, it was thought of as more of, like we were talking earlier about, um you know like you're a victim and let's just kind of push it to the side, let's not talk about it. But in today's world, we have to be successful is in a business, no matter what the business is, you have to have that solid foundation. So, um it's just something that's critical in our world. And as we move forward, right, I almost feel like it's gonna have more impact than what we've even addressed so far in our society.
For sure. I love it
Yeah.
when I talk to employers that like get it and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I see this. I completely
Yeah.
understand it. Let's go." I do get frustrated sometimes by the employers that are like, "Oh, I don't know. Is this really a problem? I probably don't need this, or I want the cheapest solution out there, not necessarily the solution that best works for that specific facility." I will say, because I know I mentioned earlier, I'd love to like give tips for anyone listening. I do think, especially if you do have frontline workers, one of the best things you could do for your team is get them de-escalation training. I think, especially if they're dealing and interfacing with customers and patients these days, especially, I'm sure we've all seen the videos online, and that's just a snippet of customers attacking, yelling. It's insane what's happening. I don't know if anyone saw that what happened on the plane a few weeks ago with the one lady. I mean, we are living in strange times, and giving the
Yes.
gift to your team of being able to empower them with the right tools to be able to tell when someone might be exhibiting before they even get aggressive, might be tense, might be in a position where they're about to start yelling or worse, and then if they do, being able to help them find ways to talk to them in a human way to see what they can do to de-escalate that incident. I think it's something we should learn in schools, to be perfectly honest.
Absolutely. All kinds of communication. I would think that it would be so nice to grow up in schools learning just to communicate, right? And to be in touch
And
with who
being in
you
a
are and
safe,
who other people
yeah,
are.
a safe environment, right? I mean, we have to
Yeah.
protect each other, and there's so many things that we need to, address and, um, just be open and honest from the beginning. Like you said, school is a great place for that, but and that helps us as human beings, right, to start addressing what's real in the world and making sure we're there for each other in any way possible.
Absolutely.
Yasmin, I hope we somewhere in there answered your questions.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I think it's going to be an evolution. I think I'm going to have to try different things. I can't help but always think about the cases where I didn't get through, and I think that's why I'm like,
But
how
you've
do I
always
do
planted a
this?
seed. You've always
Yeah, I
planted a
hope
seed. And
so.
guess what? Every
So
lead or prospect is not for you. It's not your match. But or at least not now, not today, but they might be somewhere down the line,
that's a
right?
good outlook. That's a good outlook.
So, and I always, I don't know, something you were speaking to earlier in the beginning, but I always think ripple effect, ripple effect, ripple effect. That little pebble dropping in the water causes a big ripple effect. So you never know what conversations are going to happen after your conversation, whether they've decided to buy into this or not, right? But you've planted a seed, and they're forever changed. We can't take in new information and stay the same. So that's all, you've done your job, right? You've planted the seeds and dispersed them. And sometimes the wind's going to blow some, and some's going to float away. Some's going to die in the scorching sun. But there's some are going to take root and blossom. And so, I just thank you for what you do. I want to bring us to a close because I want to honor your time. I know you have a very tight schedule today, and you have somewhere you have to be. So, Yasmin, I could go on and talk to you forever. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you so much for giving your heart and your skills and your brain, your keen mind to the world. Thank you for loving the world enough to take the risk and step up. And you're in 4 countries. I can't wait to hear when you're in 40 countries and then
Oh,
400
that's
countries. I'm
sweet.
so
Thank you.
excited. And I think that, yeah, yeah, time's your friend. It's just going to be amazing. So, and we're, here to help get you out there. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. This was a great conversation.
It was very great conversation. Thank you again. And we'll see you next time.
Awesome.
Bye,
Bye bye.
Yasmin.
Thanks.
Okay. Ashley, so Ashley, we're going to talk about another person that is an amazing woman who's very courageous. And you and I recently enjoyed a lunch in Lynchburg, Tennessee, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
So we both happened to be in Tennessee at the same time. And we met up in Lynchburg in this wonderful place. It was built in the 1850s, or at least the bottom portion of it was, and then it was built up and it became a boarding house. Well, it's still run as not as a boarding house for lodging, but for eating. Like they have boarding house style lunches twice a day. And so we went to lunch and it's really great. There's all these different rooms and you get assigned a room, and then there's a huge round table, and then there's a lazy Susan that's round, that's almost as the size of the table. And you
Right.
have just enough room for your plate and your whole place setting, right? And then this lazy Susan, we slowly turn it and there's 8 people at your table with a host or a hostess, and you slowly turn the table so everybody can serve their plates. And of course, it's good old, we're in Tennessee, right? It's good old Southern comfort
Southern
food.
food.
Woo! Oh
Right.
my goodness,
Yes,
it's
yes,
so
family
good.
style. Yes, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing
Yeah.
experience too.
Oh, it was a
Yes,
really
yes.
great, and it was so fun to talk to people from all over. But you guys, what one
Sure.
person that was there, and you remember who I'm talking about, Ashley. We're not going to
Right.
say a name today, but think if you saw the movie Hidden Figures. Do you remember that? Hidden Figures. Anyone?
Yes.
Anyone? Just think about it if you don't look it up. Well, I'm just going to say we had stories sitting at our table from a hidden figure. Amazing woman. I've got chills right now. We were
Right.
enraptured the whole table, and then we were just peppering her with questions. So the whole time, she didn't want to usurp our time, but like, please do, because she's so interesting.
Right.
She shared stories of being a hidden figure, and then she grew up, of course, in the civil rights movement era. Martin Luther King Jr. She lived 2 blocks from his brother's house. She had the KKK marching down her street, and they were, had to be in hiding. Um, she was in one of the elementary schools that was um, that the incinerator of the school was set ablaze, and I mean, story after story.
Right.
And then,
It was like listening to a movie, honestly.
yeah, it
It's things that
was.
you hear about and you always think about like what was the life of someone that lived through all of that.
Yeah,
And
because
it
it
was
used to just be
amazing
in a
how
book, right? And she
right,
brought it to
right. And
life because it was real for
she
her.
did. She did. And it was amazing. Just amazing to hear how she, like took those obstacles, right? Those different situations and survived it. But in a loving way. I mean, with all the things that were going on in the world back in those days, right? Because she shared so much of what that experience was. And it was just amazing how like someone could live through so much and still come out on a very positive end of life, and even how she lives today. I mean, obviously we've had a lot going on, and from gosh, many years ago all the way through, our current status is just, in the situations that happen. Obviously media has created a bigger space for us to be able to share and to hear, and then you start to, wonder what is really real. But you take in this situation with her specifically was the fact that we are hearing it firsthand. I mean, like everything that she thought or she heard or her beliefs at the time, how her parents raised her, and how, then even just living like, you said, it was like down the street from Martin Luther King's brother. I mean, that's amazing, amazing stuff. And that she's happy, she shines. I
Yes.
mean, it's
She
just,
is
it
full of
was,
gratitude and joy, you
yes,
guys. Y'all, she is just,
absolutely.
she didn't have any bitterness or resentment. She wasn't speaking
No,
like out of
like,
hatred or
right.
regret or any of it. She just is embraced that this is her life, and she found the gold in it. She found the silver lining. She
Yes,
found the golden nuggets. She found the
yes,
joy, and she brings it forward. And I mean, she just taught us so much, y'all. She is just, yeah, she's just joy filled and amazing. I was in
sure.
awe. And it affects her to even, think about the things in your life that you grew up believing or that you went through and how it affects you today. Well, today she said she has been invited and part of very high level, high ranking officials events, so very posh dinners and very posh things. And still today, she said, she still has that inner struggle of, oh, I don't belong here. And is it okay for me to be here? I don't deserve this. Right. Like
Right,
she still is
right.
from what she was led to believe all those years. And so
Yeah,
every day she's walking forth in courage, the courage to remind herself that yes, I do deserve this. I do get to be a part of this. She's just, oh, I'm just so in awe of her. And she I'm telling you,
yes,
she was so
yes.
delightful and just
Oh,
brought sunshine
absolutely.
into the room, didn't she?
She did, she did, and even the person that was with her, is her best friend and someone that she had met along the way, in early years and, in her education field that she worked in, and as well as, just the stories we heard, in probably the last couple decades, right? Where she and her family, as well as this other lady that was with her, like it just is, it's amazing. And even the lady that was, that she was with in the room shared so many, like from her perspective and her, just being connected to this lady. It was a shining moment for her to say, I'm proud to have someone so great in my life. And that it means a lot when you can find someone in that space. And it's one of those things that I know as we left, after that joyful meal together, right? It was, just like, how in the world do you connect with her? How does she become part of your life? Because she was just that genuine and really just overall a very happy person. Which I wish
Yeah.
everybody could be,
Not
and
resentful, not
but I
bitter,
right, but
just,
I think it's choice. It's taking your experiences and then, you know, looking at, like, what am I going to do with this opportunity, right?
yes.
And
And that's what
and
she's
uh,
doing.
and she's living the life that we all somewhat dream of at times,
She's
right?
all in,
Yeah,
like, so she's
yeah,
what we call all
absolutely,
in for herself so that she can live a
right.
life of joy, but not really for herself. It's so that she
No,
can overflow the joy and that fullness of joy onto other people.
yes,
And she's
absolutely,
choosing to be very out front with it. She could hide and nurse her pain and be bitter and
sure,
keep it all to herself, but she's just choosing to be open every day and to
yes,
teach everyone that she encounters how to find the good, right? To find the good
absolutely,
and let the
absolutely,
experiences teach them
yeah,
things to make their lives better.
sure.
Oh my gosh. And isn't
It's
that what
amazing.
we're all about as a company with CA Short? That's really
Absolutely.
what we want is we want people to be glad to be at work, because when they're glad to be
Yes.
at work, they go home and their family is glad to have them home. Sometimes, there are scenarios
Sure.
where people aren't glad to have their person come home from work because they're come home,
Right.
bring it home and they're grumpy and they're resentful or a lot of
Stressed
these
and
things. They're
yeah.
stressed
Yeah.
out, they're
Yeah.
exhausted. So the ripple effect, we if we can help them have a good experience at work and want to be at work and get more meaning out of their day at work, it's going to affect their home life, it's going to affect their financial life, it's going to affect
Absolutely.
everything, their whole community with that ripple effect. So wow. Any last words you want to say, Ashlee?
I will just say that, I mean, it was as we started the day, right? I mean, we knew we had a plan, to meet up, connect, and we knew that there was something probably special about the little town that we were in, and the where we were going. But you just don't know what you're going to come across, right? And I think that was what was so special, is just the stories we heard, the people that we met, and it just, like it changed, honestly, you know, for, I guess, the view that you think the day's going to go one way, right? And to take and embrace such, a short time with, new people, and be able to learn from that and appreciate the experience. It's just, at the end of it all, it became a greater day than, I honestly expected. And I
Me
mean, it was
too.
it was great to, even, to have lunch with you, but to meet other people and hear their experiences, and even to understand the place that we were at, right? Just hear the history, and know where it came, where it came from, right? From the very beginning, and how it grew. And even the person that that really owned that place, right? Was able to share so much too, in a way, right? We heard this lady's experience, which was fantastic, because it was a real life situation. But even just the history of the place that we were at, and how that person that had engaged in that space, that became the boarding house, eventually became a place where people were, are eating on a daily basis, right? Coming and gathering together. There's so much that still, even there's an impact happening in that. Is we live here, and we're working, we're doing things. That person, even though she's not alive today, is really, it's living out her legacy. And so it's just fantastic how we can all embrace things as we just kind of stop and have that moment, and be able to live through those experiences and learn from them. So yeah, it was a great day for sure.
It was. So you guys, we've talked about some really tough issues, but also, how, so many great golden nuggets and the silver lining within all those hard things in life. There's always something and someone out there to help lead the way into finding the meaning of it all, to find the good in it, whatever it is. You get to make, these people are making the choice, I get to make the choice. Ashley gets to make the choice, and you get to make the choice every day. What choice are you going to make? Are you going to choose to find what can elevate you and ripple out from you? Or, are you going to choose what can, decelerate you and let that ripple out? That's really the choices we all make every day. And we've seen some great, amazing examples of women who have risen up and decided to elevate themselves and their situation and the rest of the world. And we invite you to do the same. So it's time for me to say, it's that time again. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Cheri.
viewers, for being with us today for the CA Short Company All In Employee Podcast. It's been fun, it's been informative, and it's been engaging. Remember, you're either all in or you're all out. See you next time.